What's up everybody? I'm Sam Morton. Today I'm working on my truck again. You're welcome to come along. We are replacing our thermostat in our 2010 Dodge Ram 3500. So today we're going to be replacing the thermostat in our truck because for quite some time now, our truck has not been warming up all the way. I think that our thermostat in our truck is stuck partially open. The truck will only get to around 170 degrees or so in the coolant and then kind of maintain that. Also though, when we've been climbing steep hills, the truck has started to overheat, which we have never seen before either. It goes up to where the fan kicks on, it slows down for a little bit, and then it just keeps going. So I don't think that the thermostat is opening all the way either. I think it's stuck somewhere in the middle. I got a brand new thermostat here. I went ahead and got the Cummins original part. Because this is a part I don't want to necessarily have to replace a lot, I thought I'd go ahead and get the original because the truck has 200,000 miles on it and the original one lasted almost that long. So we're gonna go ahead and replace this today. I've never done this project before, so you can come along, hopefully learn something, hopefully not learn by my mistakes, but I'm gonna show you what I do to get this replaced. So taking a look at the engine here, you can find where the thermostat is located by following the coolant line into the radiator from the engine. It runs along here and goes into this cast metal bracket right here. The thermostat is located underneath this cast metal bracket. Now, unfortunately, on these newer engines with all this emission stuff, this is the EGR, and the EGR pipe that comes over to the intake. That needs to come off so that we can get down here and remove the bolts. There's one right there, there's one here, and the other one is, well, underneath this. So this all needs to come off. But before you're gonna do that, this is all full of coolant through this hose. I'm gonna drain the coolant a little ways so that we can hopefully crack this without spilling coolant everywhere. If we don't get it all out, it's not too big a deal, but it'll be a little bit of a mess. First, I'm gonna start by just cracking the radiator cap so that air can get into the system. Just gonna leave it like that. All right, underneath the truck now, I'm going to just crack the coolant drain in the bottom left corner of the radiator. And I'm probably gonna drain out just about a gallon. You don't need to drain out all the fluid in the truck because we only need to drain it down just enough that we're not gonna spill everywhere. It's kind of a twist and pull and try not to get too splattered by it. While that drains down, I'm going to use an 8mm nut here, and we are going to remove this plastic shroud on top of the engine that covers the EGR pipe. You do need to remove the oil dipstick just for a moment. Set it aside so that you can remove this plastic shielding all in one piece. Go ahead and wipe the dipstick clean and reinsert it. All right, we drained about a gallon of the coolant out. You can come up here and you actually squeeze this hose and feel there's no resistance, and hear that it's basically empty. So there shouldn't be too much fluid in there. Next thing we need to do is remove this the cross pipe for the EGR. We're going to do that by taking off of this this clamp here and the clamp on the other side, and this stainless steel tube should be able to be removed. You're also going to have to remove any plugs that are connected to it. In this truck there's just one right here. Let's go ahead and remove this little electrical thing. There's these little safety clips you gotta press in and pull out on them. They can be a real pain sometimes. There's a thing on the back of this you need to squeeze, and then it'll just pop right off. Okay, now I've got a 7/16 inch deep socket here that fits over nicely on this spring clip here, and we're just going to go ahead and we're going to loosen that spring clip. Now you can go ahead and remove the clip all together. And this pipe is, you can see it's starting to free up. Now we got to go do the same on the other side. All right, now we're on the other side here. Got a little bit of heat shielding that's kind of in the way, but I can get my ratchet on this one as well. Alright. Well, this one doesn't want to come off as easy. There we go. Alright. Got the two spring clips off. Now this pipe should, in theory, come off. There we go. All right, so it turns out that there's a bracket right in there. So that bracket attaches to the pipe and goes down, and there's actually a bolt into the block right down in front here, right on top of, behind the pulley, behind the idler pulley. I don't know how I'm going to be able to get that bolt off. So it turns out I could get an 8mm socket on an extension and wiggle it underneath the coolant line and get it onto the bolt that holds it onto the bracket here, and I can actually loosen it. It's a little tiny 8mm bolt in there, and that holds it onto this thing. I already broke it loose, so it probably will come right off with a couple turns. And there it is. So here's the EGR pipe all off, and that's the little bracket I was talking about with that little 8mm bolt that went under there. So here's what it looks like with the EGR cross tube off. You can see how nasty and sooty that is. These stupid things are the death of these engines. And there's that little bracket that I was able to get the socket underneath and remove that. All right, the next thing we're gonna do here, we're gonna take off this little heat shielding thing. I don't know what that is. I'm gonna remove these two bolts here so we can get at the bolts to pop that out. Once again, it looks like these are 8mm bolts. And we're just gonna go ahead and loosen doesn't even look like I have to fully remove them. This piece just slides out like that. Ooh, there's gaskets that were in between the EGR pipe. Don't lose these. You're going to want to put them back on when you reinstall this. All right, now we can see we're looking down on the coolant tube. Comes in here, and we've got this cast piece. The thermostat sits underneath right here, and that is going to have to, the whole thing's going to come up. This is luckily just rubber, so it should just pull right up. But it looks like we've got maybe a manifold exhaust pressure line right here. We're probably gonna have to remove this and remove this so that this whole thing can come up without breaking any of that little line that goes back there. All right, there's the little cable on the sensor. Now I'm gonna go ahead and use a 12mm wrench here. Go ahead and take this out. We are now just going to go ahead and get our ratchet down on these bolts that hold down the horn here. Now we're just going to remove those. All right, we got those 3 bolts out. Now we're just going to go ahead and gently lift up on this. Oh yeah, it's loose. I'm gonna have to set the camera down though. You may notice some fluid spill out. All right, there it is, the thermostat. It doesn't look cracked open, but we'll pull it out and take a look. I just lifted the hose up and set it there. Now we're just gonna get in here with, probably need a screwdriver. I'm just gonna pop that up. Come on. There it is, the old thermostat. We can look down in here and look into the engine. Try not to get anything to fall into there. You'd rather not have it in there. You can see that when it's fully closed, this seats against that ring in there. and prevents the coolant from getting into the radiator. But this one looks okay, but it's clearly not performing properly. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop the new one in. So here's the old one, here's the new one. Taking a look at them, one thing is clearly obvious. There is a rubber seal all around the outside of this one here, and this seal is completely gone. So that's probably where the leak is. It's probably just going in. Yeah, actually I can see light in around the edges. So the fluid's just bypassing into the radiator all the time, even when it doesn't tell it to open. So this one's seal is intact. Unfortunately, that seal's gone, so that probably means that it's in my cooling system somewhere. Fantastic. I'm hoping that this one is just not opening all the way as well, and that's our overheating issue. I would imagine, because it happened the same time as this one. But the new one looks a lot nicer, doesn't it? Time to put it in. All right, now we're just going to take this new one, we're just going to set it back in place. Just like that. That's all there is to it. Now we just reassemble. That gas seal on the outside, the gasket, is going to seal it up once we bolt it down. And that's it. Go ahead and reassemble everything and you should be good to go. I did not record putting it all back together, but basically reverse everything we did to take it apart and you should be good to go. I do have video of refilling the radiator with coolant from when I replaced the water pump in this truck. Now we need to open this this vent right here because the truck has the EGR. This is the highest point, so we need to open this up. And then we start filling the radiator with fluid until we see it overflow at this point, and then the system is completely full. All right, we got our vent open, and now we just start filling. Now this stuff that we're using is already pre-diluted. I prefer to get the full strength stuff because then we just mix it in our gallon or 5-gallon bucket and pour it in. And it's cheaper that way, but this is all they had, and that's what we're gonna do. So it's a little easier though, because then we just dump it in. Really is kind of a too big funnel for this application, but it's what I got, and it's working. So now we're just gonna watch until we see fluid overflow like that. All right, so there it is. It overflowed a little bit. I'll just add a little bit more so you can see what it looks like. Just see it burbling out there. So that means that she's full to the top. Now we're just gonna cap her up here. And the system's filled. All right, throw the cap back on and now fill your reservoir to the max line. All right, now we're gonna start the truck and run it until the thermostat opens, until it's almost at operating temperature, and we're gonna watch the coolant level in the reservoir. Check for coolant leaks around the thermostat housing and keep an eye on the coolant level for the next few operating cycles. So it's been a few months since we installed the new thermostat and it's been working as it should. The truck warms up pretty quickly and holds its temperature solid at 190 degrees Fahrenheit. That's something to consider when replacing a thermostat in your vehicles, that thermostats come in different temperature ratings, and you might want to replace it with the same temperature that it originally had, or depending on if you've made modifications to your engine, you might want to change the temperature. Our overheating issue seems to be resolved as well. While we haven't pulled in the mountains, we have pulled up some large hills where we started to see the truck warm up previously, and this time it held it nice and cool. So I think that our overheating problem has been solved as well. Overall, this was a relatively easy project to do. I think anyone with some do-it-yourself skills and basic tools should be able to tackle this. As always, we hope this video has earned your subscription. If so, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll see y'all next time. Bye.